Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hypnosis Everywhere. I have a great guest on tonight from down under. Well, not quite in Australia, so you understand that I still consider New Zealand down under. We're on the other
Mhm.
half of where we are. So, welcome here, Justine. And I'm really happy to talk to you today because we're going to cover all kinds of ground. But first of all, I'd like you just to introduce yourself and what you do in New Zealand, etc., what you've been doing in the past few years, how you came to hypnosis, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Hi, Ines and everybody. Yeah, I'm from New Zealand and I run an organisation called Hypnosis New Zealand. Um, it's a community of people where we get lots of guests over here and have Zoom calls. I took over Hypnosis New Zealand about 2 or 3 years ago, and in New Zealand it was very quiet with hypnotherapy. When I came into the scene, there was a few New Zealand trainings, but there wasn't a lot of international stuff. And so when I took over Hypnosis New Zealand, I came in with a goal of um, just creating a really solid, good community of people working together, and also getting a lot of international people here, a lot of training, just upping the education so that hypnosis can start to get recognised in New Zealand. It's been a pretty amazing journey. And yeah, and even the international community, it's amazing who jumps in. I have a Zoom call probably 2 or 3 times a month, and just the hypnotherapy guests that are happy to come on from all around the world and chat with us is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Well, you're a great host for that because I know from being there, but also I think from what I've heard from some of my friends, they love to go to be with you because you are a great moderator, great person knowing about hypnosis, all that stuff.
Yeah. And we're very relaxed and casual over here in New Zealand.
That's right. Good for Canadians, anyway.
Yeah. So people are quite surprised when I message and say, "Do you want to come on our show?" Just letting you know that we're very relaxed and casual. So if you want to even wear your pajamas, it's okay. Yeah, this is New Zealand.
I bet many
Yeah,
people are nowadays. Just see the
yeah,
head. I got a little. It
yeah,
was a
yeah,
funny thing there. Some guy on TV or something was wearing his shorts underneath, but it got caught, so it was
yeah.
funny. But I'm sure a lot of people are doing that.
I
So
think they'll be doing that now with doing a lot of Zoom calls. Yeah, so that's what I do now. I also have a private business called ThoughtWorks, where I see possibly around 20 clients a week, when we're not really in COVID so much. But yeah, and I just work with all different things in the clinic. So I also teach Hypnosis New Zealand. I train a diploma and an advanced course. And so with me having clients as well, it means that I'm working with people as well as being able to take that to my students. Yeah.
yeah, I always said that, and I don't know, Justine. I probably agree with you most things. So, I mean, I teach and I have clients, and I think it's always beneficial to keep doing clients when you're teaching
Yeah.
because otherwise you don't seem to grow with you keep stagnant or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have found most of my learnings has been through working with clients.
Yeah.
Um, you learn a lot from them, especially the harder ones.
I think
Yeah.
every now and then you get one of those just to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so and for my hypnotherapy journey, how I came into hypnosis, pretty much I was brought up in a family where I was surrounded in all of the books. I was surrounded in Tony Robbins, and I was quite fortunate. So I had parents that were really interested in the mind, positive thinking, manifestation, those kind of things. I recently found out that a good friend of my father's, Neville Rowe, who was around me when I was young, actually travelled the world teaching past life regression.
Oh,
So I didn't actually connect the dots until maybe in the last 2 years. That was probably what drew me towards hypnotherapy, I guess. I have a really neat little photo of me at 5, just hiding around the corner listening to my dad talking to him about past lives. So I'm guessing that's what kept that drew it. And so about 10 or 15 years ago, I studied NLP and CBT just as part of, I was into natural modality. So I did homeopathics and I did massage therapy. And then I stumbled across hypnotherapy, and that was it. It was the
Well, we're
thing that
thankful because
yeah,
you're a pretty great hypnotist, and I think that's great that you're out doing that. You're not only
yeah,
a great hypnotist, you're a great entrepreneur. I know that
yeah,
from just hanging out with you.
yeah. So pretty much when I took over Hypnosis New Zealand, like I said, my passion in New Zealand is to get it recognised, is to have it as one of the go-to therapies or modalities for people to use. And it is happening. It's happening. I'm teaching a lot of psychologists, psychiatrists. They are coming through and understanding how powerful it is. So things are changing over
Oh,
here.
that's great. I think things are changing all over the world, but you started in a country that's not really hugely populated,
Yeah,
and you've gone really far in 2 or 3 years.
yeah. And it's been an exciting ride. I've been over to Canada with you and Australia lots. And yeah, the hypnotherapy community is amazing. It's a solid community of people, good people. Yeah.
So now I'm just going to bring in, of course, that Justine has agreed to be my trainer in New Zealand for Simpson Protocol. So I'm
Yep.
pretty happy about that because I usually only ask people that I really feel are open to it and are really passionate about hypnosis. So you fit the bill really well.
Yeah. And I'm very, very, very excited about it. I love Simpson Protocol and use it all the time. It's amazing, and it's a good step forward. So after people have, gone through the real basic things, having that there for the students to go through too is amazing. So we've got one coming up in June,
Yep,
an
looking
online
forward to
EST
it.
training. So I'll be there with Ines
Well, I'll
helping.
be online because we're still not going to be able to travel there. So,
Yeah,
but it is great. You guys are going to be loosened up somewhat, though. You may even
yeah,
be able to have one of those days live with the
yeah.
group if they chose, right?
Yeah, we are actually today. So we went into level 2 today. So
Yeah,
town, everything's open as from today, and groups up to 100. So we probably can do one of those days in
yeah,
person, which I
yeah.
might organise. Yeah.
It's kind of a bonus for people that are there locally. Doing the online training now, I found that they learn everything they need to learn, but sometimes it's just about the fun part of it.
Yeah. And the people. Yeah, I found the online training excellent. I was quite surprised transitioning from being in class to being online, how
Mm-hmm.
that connection was still there between the students.
Yeah, I found that too. And I also found that they actually focused more on what you were saying. So
Yeah.
maybe the fun in the classroom was always hindering that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And having that space so that at lunchtime when you do switch off, they actually go and have some lunch instead of chatting and have that relaxation, then come back in and
And
get to
focus
it.
again. Yeah.
So it was really successful.
Yeah, I agree. And what else are your plans in the near future? Um, got any ideas for opening up some really interesting sort of venues or types of trainings or whatever? Do you have anything
Yeah,
like that?
so in New Zealand, my next big thing I'm planning is a conference. I haven't had a conference. I know Hypnosis New Zealand has had them in the past. I've been to one. Um, but yeah, so at the end of the year, I'm planning. It was going to be in September, but of course, we changed it just in case. So the next big thing, yeah, is a conference here. I'm going to showcase mostly New Zealanders in this one because we do have an amazing bunch of people that have been, doing hypnotherapy for a long time, but because New Zealanders didn't really branch out into, America and online in the past, that they're quite hidden, but there's some brilliant people here. So my aim was to showcase some Kiwis at this conference, maybe bring in a couple of international people and just get that community even stronger here.
You just don't know, even though you guys will be open and things, there might not be an openness from the other countries to be allowed
No,
to go out
definitely
yet.
not. So maybe my plan was pre-planned.
Yeah, pre-planned, and we'll see where it goes. I'm supposed to be
Yeah,
somewhere in September. We'll see where that goes. I,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the thing yet, but we'll just keep moving things forward, and what happens
yeah.
happens.
And
So,
it has, yeah. I was going to say, and it is very important that we do keep on looking out into the future. As we know as hypnotherapists, it is important to have that future goal, and it's quite easy right now to close it off and just sit back thinking, what am I going to do? So it's
that's
good to
right.
be,
People need to focus on what the future brings, not
yeah,
just, but doing things, not just saying, and well, I got to wait till COVID's over, that
exactly.
kind of thing.
But just, yeah, keeping on planning it and picturing it and
And
moving forward.
especially pushing that clients do the work online, because you know what, it's actually quite beneficial. I
Yeah,
found working with clients online, they actually allow more because they're comfort of their own home now,
yeah,
and there might be other reasons too, but so if we can push that, because people are going to need a lot of help when COVID's over, and now too, because some of them are really having a hard time, even though you guys are starting to open up, so you might get some of those people that are scared to go out and
yeah,
scared, all
exactly.
those
Yeah.
things. So even accommodating them with more online work is really important, I think.
I think and it has opened their minds up to it, because I've got clients messaging now to book in, and they're quite happy to do it still at home.
Yeah,
They're
because
not,
it
they're
might
not
have been
rushing.
some of our limiting beliefs saying that, we're not going to do it very well. It's probably better on one-on-one. And clients have the same thing. So it's just a matter of shifting and understanding that it's just the same or even better.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we all know with hypnosis, it's the client's doing the work really in the mind. We're just
Hmm.
directing it. So whether we're sitting together in a room or in Canada and New Zealand,
Yeah, it's no difference,
there's
right?
no difference. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So it has pushed us.
that really helped me when I've been doing online sessions around the world for the last 2 years. And it really helped me when I switched to the online training,
Yeah,
because I was already broken in a little.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think the COVID-19 thing has pushed everyone outside of their limits or their squares, and it's been quite eye opening.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's been
And
a
the whole thing, I think, is moving hypnosis as a profession forward.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And we are one of the modalities that can actually help people with anxiety and things like that from
Hmm.
home. We don't have
Yeah.
to be there. And so this is one of those times that we can actually get in and make a difference. We can, yeah, we can actually get out there and say, hey, we're here and we can help you, and you don't even need to come to the office.
Yeah. And you know what? There is also the thing that for some reason they're very in their own, they might be on their bed, they might be on a recliner, they might be somewhere very comfortable. And they have their own, as Jackie says, their own smells, their own everything. It's their own environment. And if there's animals there, people are always a little bit afraid of that, but not that they'll jump on them and break the spell. And I say, there's no spell to have. If they want to sit on your lap and they're comfortable, as long as I can, talk to you, and it's all fine. So
Yeah.
breaking those illusions of people thinking that they mustn't move and they mustn't ever, say anything, or, this is when we do hypnosis, it's a very interactive thing. And if a cat's sitting on the lap and making them feel good, it's just a bonus.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a good story about that. My dad he has quite a few TIAs, and he had a little TIA, which is a mini stroke. And after having the stroke, he didn't know how to shave, which was interesting. So that part of the brain obviously just switched off. And so we decided to try a little bit of hypnosis, and he was sitting on a rocking chair, and everyone's in the room and the dog's in the room. And my dad is one of those people that if you say, now close your eyes and relax them down to the point that they don't feel like opening, he'll open them and say, it's not working, which is really, it's just how it is. But so he closed his eyes and just said a few things about just going back to a time, when you were shaving, or I can't even remember what I said. There wasn't an induction. It was just pretty much straight in. And then the dog, Simba, came over and pretty much leaped on him, and it's a massive border collie. And he just opened his eyes, and that was it. So it was only a few minutes, and then the dog came over. But the next morning, he actually, when he got up, he went to the bathroom, he shaved, he went into the kitchen and sat down to have his breakfast without even realizing that he had shaved. He just went back to the same old program prior to the TIA. So the dog didn't affect it at all. Yeah, so I thought that was quite a neat little story. One about the power of hypnosis, but two about how it doesn't matter who's around.
No, it doesn't.
People,
there's so much information that people have from very old movies and all that kind of stuff. But even the old thinking of the 50s and 60s has prevailed and stayed with us. That, you mustn't do anything to make this sort of state disappear. And it's such a natural state that we just using it and keeping it there. And we are just trying to educate people that they don't have to be concerned it happens to them every single day. All we're doing is using whatever trance they're in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even sitting on a seat, closing your eyes.
And, I've even done that with people who couldn't close their eyes, where people were very afraid of having not any control with their eyes open. You just hypnotize them with their eyes open and it still works. It's only an illusion that we give people they can go inside easier, right? It doesn't have to do. I mean, think about it. When they're out on stage, they're running around with their eyes open.
I know. I feel when I'm in a deeper state, when we're doing SP, I feel more comfortable with my eyes open. Looking around the room, and I watch my fingers moving, thinking, oh, that's really interesting. The conscious mind is there. It doesn't matter how deep I go, but I actually feel more comfortable with my eyes open.
Yeah, I have clients that open their eyes on and off all the time. It doesn't change the fact that they're in a nice deep state of hypnosis. It's just that they open their eyes.
And things do look a bit different. You get that the funny vision but it definitely doesn't affect my trance whatsoever. I probably even go deeper with my eyes
I think
open.
so. I mean, think about it. If somebody has an idea that they don't want to close their eyes because they don't feel safe, they'll feel much safer with their eyes open. They'll go much deeper.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, how often are people in trances in town anyway? You walk past them and they don't even know you've been there. They're just staring. They're just going for that goal.
Yeah. That's total focus, right?
Yeah.
And that's all we're asking for people is just allow that focus to come in. And usually just it comes in internally, and they end up using their whole mind instead of just the frontal cortex part.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it. So we've got about a minute left on this section. So I really, the only thing I can think of then is that I haven't asked you in this part is you're getting other people in from internationally. Have you had them in? There have been for those Zoom meetings. Are you thinking any specific trainings in the near future, maybe next year when things open up?
Yeah, so we have got quite a few people lined up. It's been so pretty much when people come to New Zealand or Australia now, Hypnosis New Zealand brings them over. And so when I hear of any hypnotherapist that I like what they do, that they're coming to Australia, I pretty much talk to them and they head over.
Great. So guess what? This is the end of the first segment. So we'll see everybody on the other side.
NezSimpson.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Well, welcome back. And we'll go right talking to Justine, because what we're going to talk about now is a little bit to do with me. And I like that. So tell your stories, huh? It'd be really good.
Yeah. So I thought I'd talk about my first experience with the Simpson protocol. So Hypnosis New Zealand, Ines and I, we met. We were pretty much hooked up to do a training in New Zealand, and I didn't look into really what it was. I just assumed it was a hypnotherapy training, and we advertised, and I turned up in Auckland and sat down, and I was quite surprised as it started, because for me it was quite spiritual. I'd call it quite spiritual.
Yeah, I would call it holistic, but
holistic.
People who are spiritual notice the spiritual very much.
Yeah. So while I was sitting there, I started getting, it was pretty much, I'd say mind blowing. My mind, there was a lot of information, and it started opening me up to different ideas with hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So the first time I tried SP, I thought to myself, I wonder if I could use this to enhance my spiritual abilities. You know, normally I'd go, I want to try this for weight loss or something like that. But I thought, I'm going to try SP to enhance spiritual abilities. So that is what the intention was when I went in, even though we don't need an intention. And they said, you don't need an intention, we just practice. I decided, no, I'm going to put it out there. And so we had the session, and when I opened my eyes, I could see colours around people. It was unbelievable. I almost felt like I was floating on the ceiling for the rest of the 4 days. It was it was such a funny experience. I remember I liked the feeling, so I purposely didn't switch myself out of it. I know I could have come back to reality if I wanted to, but I remember sitting on the chair and looking down at my hands thinking, I can't really move them. This is actually very cool. And I was looking around the room, and I noticed things opened up spiritually. And by the end of the day, I could hear someone was talking to me and wanted to talk to Ines. And so in the end, it was such an urge to talk to Ines that I went over to her and just said, look, I think someone wants to talk to you, which for me I've been around spiritual things for a long time, since I was very young, but I've never experienced something like that. And so after the class, Ines just put me into a trance and started communicating with someone that she communicates with through people when she does the trainings, pretty much. And and ever since then, it pretty much changed my life spiritually, that's for sure. It's
You're not the first to tell a similar story, but yours was special because it wasn't just a channeling of some being or whatever. It was, like you say, someone that's virtually is very involved in teaching me SP and doing all those things, right? And moving us forward in whatever way. So it was a bonus. I was quite surprised when it happened, but it sure was a great experience for me too.
Yeah, and it was such a new experience for me. I have seen things like that before, but I didn't think it was something that I would be doing personally. My mind, I wouldn't say analytical, but my mind's always been curious about finding out how things work and getting underneath, and it's always been quite, I'd probably say quite analytical. So for me to be able to have let go enough and to open up like that was something pretty special.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was one of the more powerful channelings that I ever came across in class. I mean, because we do get them off and on, but it was the being's energy was pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
What you were channeling, whatever that was, we don't know exactly what it is. When we asked, it said just a frequency. So, yeah. So I know that, and that's all it needs. But it was very powerful, and I could really feel the energy of that, what was talking through you. And you're a very female, and that was a very masculine.
It was a man.
Yeah, it was very masculine.
Yeah. And I do think it's something, and I understand it as something that we need to be safe about. It's not a game. You don't go into hypnosis on your own just to try and channel things.
No.
You do it in an environment where you're with someone and it's safe, and you're working with a high energy.
Because everything is yin and yang, right? Light and dark, everything is there. So there's always things that you need for it to be safe and calm. Now that's the spiritual side of what opened up in you, and we've had a couple of other guests on that had that happen to them, but there's also the side that there's some interesting things happening with the weight loss. Yes.
Remember
we talked about was pretty funny because when you were in Canada, you came to do a training in Canada because you're going to be a trainer. So you came and did training with me, training here. And it was interesting. At the time, you decided you were going to lose some weight.
Yeah,
You can tell that story because I think it's hilarious.
So when the funny one with Lisa. So I was doing a SP session with my friend Lisa, and one of the questions we like to ask is what is optimal for the client for diet and food. And because when I do this, my eyes are open, and I hear, and the conscious part of me is always listening. I think it's because I'm a trainer and a teacher, so the conscious part of me is always listening to what's, quite actively listening. And so when Lisa asked me what was optimal for me, food-wise, my voice came through and said liquid. and my conscious voice was like, no, it's not. I like food. So anyway, she looked in. So we kind of agreed on just like the one small meal a day, and it was locked in, and it was amazing. From then on, my body just adjusted to the one small meal a day. It's kind of worn off in the last.
Yeah, because you don't need it. You don't need to do only one.
I don't need it now, but I am going to have another SP session and hope that
it wasn't the part I was thinking was hilarious. It was the part when you were here afterwards. And you wanted to have a free reign while you were allowed to be anything, you said. And you did a negotiation with your mind, and it said fine. Right.
Fine, and then when I go home, it will switch straight back to.
She walks off the plane, and that's it.
And that's it, back to the 1 meal a day. And I did have some. Yeah, so I managed to have some really yummy food in Canada.
So that the understanding here is that everybody thinks you program the mind and you have to, comp out. This is you with your higher mind has created a thing that you agreed to follow. And then it didn't take any work because it was just fine, right? And it just worked easy. Yep. But when you came, you decided to blow it. And it said, okay, that's all right. And then as soon as you walked off the plane, it just went back into mode. I think it's hilarious. It's so good at telling people how this higher part of you works. It's not going to make you do anything. It wants you to do it in an easy way, and it'll just set it up for you. And I think that's great. So I think that's a hilarious story.
Yeah, and I think Jackie, because I did have a session with Jackie, one of the other SP trainers, and she we talked about having holiday modes, which was interesting too. So that when I go on holiday, I can do whatever I want. We program that, and afterwards, that was quite fun.
I think that's a smart thing. You program it the way the client wants it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
And it is important as working with the client's mind. The best results come when you fit in with what they want and their belief systems and perceptions.
So now, I know in New Zealand they are really like the gastric band, which works quite well. But strange things happened to you a little bit after you did SP. Yet people come in and actually their fingers were already saying yes or no through the gastric band.
So I have a emotional release protocol that I work through with clients, which involves gastric band. It involves SP. It pretty much is what the client needs is what they get to lose the weight.
Yeah.
And so when I do what I call normal hypnosis, just talking away, I noticed that the client's fingers would start moving. I'd get a yes or a no. And this is clients that have not done SP with me yet. So in my mind, I would just say, using telepathy, is this the superconscious mind communicating with me? And then I'd get a yes. And so a part of me would be following through the normal session. And then another part of me would be communicating with superconscious and just saying things like, can you please do anything that needs to be done at a higher level or to get the results that we want today. So it's fascinating because it didn't just happen once. It wasn't a once off. It started happening quite often. So I think doing the SP has opened up, some kind of communication with the higher part with the superconscious part of the clients when they come in, whether they've experienced it or not.
In an SP, we tend to use telepathy, and a lot of people, when they come in, I'll explain to them why that is, because their answers will come through the fingers, and it's coming from their mind. And as they get those answers to questions they didn't even know what they were, they start to trust themselves, and that's the powerful thing about telepathy.
Yeah, definitely.
Plus, it also keeps us on our toes because we never want to do any harm. So we always check with superconscious, is it okay to even ask this question sometimes?
Yeah.
Right? And is it okay for the client? So we are a very client-centered way of doing it, but telepathy works and people will think, well, that's strange. But you know, that part of the mind, that really higher part of the mind, there is no language. I can talk to them in Flemish. You could talk to them in New Zealand, to someone who doesn't understand your accent. It would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I hate to make fun of you but I do like to tease you. So Graham Norton in Britain, he loves New Zealanders, and he loves to take the mickey out of them, right? Because of the accent. So it's lovely because we all have accents. I got a Canadian accent. It's just that I'm used to hearing it.
I don't have an accent. You have an accent.
Yeah, that's right.
You have a Canadian accent. My accent, my voice is just normal.
Yeah. So that takes me, because now that makes me think about Belgium when I was talking Flemish and they were all laughing at my dialect.
Yeah.
Because it's old, like really old. So, but that just shows you any kind of communication. It doesn't matter. So I got about 4 minutes left in this section here. So I know you just told me this morning about an experience you had with another trainer in our SP community. So, and that was Christophe from Belgium. So I kind of took together, and I'd like you to, can you tell us that story?
Yeah, definitely. So this weekend we had a trainers meeting, and Christophe and I decided to have a catch up. And while we were talking about different things like just health things, German new medicine. And he was talking about how he was been working with clients with eye problems and just different physical things in the body. And so I mentioned to him that I did have quite a serious trauma last year in May. And so I have been to the hospital, and my vision in my left eye has slowly been going, and my hearing's been a bit funny. There's been things going on, and Christophe just said to me, okay, close your eyes. So I did, and we pretty much went into a trance, and I, of course, started, someone else came through, which generally happens when I'm working with SP trainers. And the next morning, I just woke up and I was driving to work, and my vision in my left eye was crystal clear. It was sharp, and it felt like my eye was open more, like I could see. Yeah, it was I had to message him straight away. It was a very interesting feeling. I realized that my right eye isn't as great as I thought it was because now my left eye is better than my right eye. And honestly, that would have taken us maybe 5 minutes, I'd say. Yeah. So he called in, who he calls in to work with while doing the SP. And I don't remember much about what was said because I was on the side of my body, curiously watching what was going on. Yeah, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So it shows what can be done with SP and with how powerful the mind is.
And the imagination, because what Christophe does, and he's so good at, is just taking it wherever. You know, there's no thinking about it. He just lets it go. And he's enormously good at it. And, you know, I don't mind giving him this plug because usually when he's on the show, and we've had him on a couple times, he gets lots of feedback from people.
Yeah. And it's amazing how the connection, I was in New Zealand, he was in Belgium. Yeah. And the connection was so strong. You could just feel it. You could feel the energy in the room. It was no different to being in person, and extremely powerful. I'm already pushing people to go to him in New Zealand that have got health problems.
Yeah. So, when people use SP, we all use it slightly differently. We all have great skills and they're all slightly different. And that was what we were doing those 3 days. We were learning from each other
Yeah.
and it was awesome. And I think our community is so great. And you're the really great addition to it, Justine.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So, it's only a minute left in this section. Everything goes so fast. But that, Justine is talking about regular hypnosis that she teaches. She talks about any other kinds of hypnosis she teaches. And then she adds SP on, which is maybe a little bit different for most. And it's made mostly for people that are hypnotists who don't care if they're in charge, because they're not in charge of the thing. The client's mind is totally in charge, and they don't ever tell anyone what to do. So on that note, we're going to go to break.
Yeah.
So see you on the other side.
Yeah.
The Simpson Protocol.
Oh, okay.
To reach the show today, send an email to Inez, that's INES, at InezSimpson.com. Now, back to this week's program.
And welcome back. And my director, that guy that sits beside me, Martin, is nagging me in my ear.
Unpaid director.
Yes. He says, Inez, you're so friendly with Justine. You never mentioned her last name once. So I'm going to do it now. Welcome back, Justine Lette.
Thank you very much, Inez Simpson.
And then he said she didn't really come here, as in Parksville, British Columbia. She went to Saskatchewan. She got to travel around Canada. She stayed with me a day and then went to Saskatchewan to help me teach the course. So
yeah, that was very, very exciting.
So now he'll be happy. Maybe.
I need to come back. Maybe I can come back next year.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anytime. You're always welcome. So what we want to talk about now, I think, for one thing, is we're talking about Simpson Protocol a lot. And what I want people to know is it's not really this SP that we're thinking is the hero here. The hero is the client's higher minds and all their part of the mind. So we are just someone that puts them in the right place so they can access all the stuff they need from themselves. That's what we do.
And it's an easy way to do it. It's very effective, and it is an easy way to bring that part down and into your hypnosis session. Especially, I know in the past when I have had a client's higher mind come through and actually talk to me just randomly in a normal hypnotherapy session, I've always been kind of overwhelmed and not sure what to do from there, what to ask, because it is quite an experience when something comes into the room, quite powerful. And so it's great having the guidelines and the questions to actually ask what you need to ask to get the results and not be kind of blown away and stuck, not knowing what to say, which is where I have been in the past.
And what I have to say too is people who are doing SP are not all like you. They're not all open and, will be able to suddenly open spiritually that way. Some people are still left in their mundane world and working on mundane things. But it's all about that it's directed. It's allowed to be exactly what the practitioner and the client together and open up. And sometimes, don't expect to come and see an SP practitioner and start to channel. It's not something that'll necessarily happen.
Yeah, definitely not. It doesn't happen with a lot of my clients. And I've used it on a wide range of things. And when I do have people come in that I know aren't very open-minded, then we just, like we talk about some of the things in the SP I just add in my mind. So it's really good for the spiritual stuff, but also everything else.
Yeah, physical, obviously look at your eye. Physical, mental, emotional, it just it's a holistic thing that we open up. That it isn't just about the channeling, even though you and I are kind of spiritual oriented and we love that stuff. So we are talking about it. But I also want to make sure that people don't think it's the only kind of thing that happens. Because there's all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had.
And it's, yeah.
There's also, I mean, many people that take SP. You take it very spiritually oriented and mundane. You do the other stuff too. And I have practitioners like my friend Kenneth in Australia that deals mostly with just everyday things, from anything from smoking all the way up to addictions. It doesn't matter, but he does everything. And he's not spiritually focused. And most clients that come to him want for more like anxiety and all that. But we do all of that, and we all do it in our own way. And the people are attracted to us for whatever kind of hypnosis that we do in that framework of SP.
Yeah. And I have noticed that things are changing, especially in New Zealand. When I started doing hypnotherapy, I remember sitting in a class, and when they asked what brought us to hypnotherapy, I quietly said past life regression, Dolores Cannon, and I think at that course I did have. That's where I met my friend Lisa, who's a very good friend of mine. It was pretty much something that wasn't discussed. It wasn't talked about. It was really a no-go zone, and that kept on going. Even when I was taking, when I went and watched a few classes before I bought Hypnosis New Zealand, it was still something that wasn't really talked about. I did notice there are a few people that I would have called alternative at the class that I went and watched, but it definitely wasn't something discussed here in New Zealand. It wasn't talked about. But then in saying that, I remember going to a convention and they were discussing about how you should not advertise on Facebook. So I'm guessing when I had been, so I think I remember someone saying someone in this room has been advertising hypnotherapy on Facebook and it's not good for our profession. So I did kind of slide down in my chair a little bit. But now, of course,
Everybody
because of advertising on Facebook, I've got such business here. So,
but that does show limiting beliefs that people have, including us. Every single person has limiting belief. We were limited in belief in thinking we could do it online. We're limited in belief in the 50s that we could only hypnotize half the people. There's been many limiting beliefs that we have surpassed, and we'll be many more, I'm sure.
And and now what I'm finding, I don't know if it's just me attracting them or whether I'm pretty sure energies are changing. I'm finding in the last year, maybe I'd say 99.9% of the people coming through training are extremely open-minded. They're open to all parts of the mind. They're open to experimenting things. If we suddenly did talk about what would happen if your client did spontaneously go into a past life, how would we deal with that? How do we bring them back into this lifetime? It seems to be that people that are coming through into our profession are very open-minded, spiritual, really good, positive people. Mm-hmm. And that shift's only been in the last 2 or 3 years. So, of course, the courses are getting mind-blowing. We're having funny things happening in our courses. They seem to amp up each time. But the energy coming through, it's such a good, high, positive energy coming through with people that are really curious. They're wanting more. They're very open-minded, working with the different parts of the brain, the higher self, superconscious. They're eagerly wanting to know more.
And I think it's great, and I think it's natural. Now, people that are keeping themselves in that box, they don't get to grow anymore. And so there's nothing wrong with the hypnosis of the 50s and 60s, but there's so much more now. Modern hypnosis has moved forward. And to move forward, that means that you have to be open to possibility and open to doing some things that, in class that you're willing to do with people to experiment. You're not necessarily going to experiment on your clients necessarily, but when people come into class, they're willing guinea pigs, right?
Yeah, and always experimenting. You're in an environment where you are safe. There's people with you.
Yeah.
You're always working with. It's really important that you do work with the highest source or the highest part of the person. Yeah, but the experimenting, it's how this profession is getting.
Yeah, that's how it
Yeah,
grows. Otherwise, everything would be stagnant in every profession if nobody ever did anything new,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
and who knows where we can go with the mind. It
It's
just seems.
infinite, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see in this room, like it's
Yeah. No,
full of.
because they're on the radio.
Oh, I was gonna say in my room it's full of certificates because the the mind is such a big thing. It's when you start studying the mind, it just opens up a whole new world. I have people saying to me, "There's just more, and there's more, and there's more, and there's so much to learn." But we're learning about a part of us that's we don't really understand, especially when we get to the higher mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so experimenting and the cool thing with SP is that you can experiment, you can ask questions, and you can get a yes or no, and it gives you a pretty good
Yeah.
answer. And yeah,
Well,
and then when you have the occasional person that does channel through, you have that good, clear communication, and they are answering questions that there's no way they'd know about.
no. And it's interesting thing is that you can take it in any direction, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's all part of the package. And then you can center where the client needs to go. It's where they go and take it. That it's always the way it is. And, even on that 3-day thing we just did, Ludovic, my French trainer, he just showed all kinds of stuff that we already do, but he embellished a little bit how pain and how you could work with it and how it was important, and it just bringing it back to me exactly what to do. I do it when I'm doing it, but I sometimes float around and I think, oh, how do you specifically? He explained it quite well. So we know that physically we can address. We've had people in the chairs that seem like there's a miracle because they've been open to possibilities so much that their mind, just like your eye went just in that one day. And this isn't everybody, people. I want you to understand that is that, tumor has dropped out from someone and all those sort of things happen, arthritic limbs going down and the swelling going down. Those things happen with people that are very open to possibility. It isn't us. We didn't do it. We don't do it. We don't
Yeah.
know anything about doing it.
Yeah.
So that creates the possibility, because if I was a surgeon, maybe that would help, but I couldn't do that kind of stuff. So, it's understanding that their mind is doing everything and the possibilities. Now, some people say, oh, that's terrible, or they're, coming from a negative side, but there's a very positive side to faith in this.
Yeah.
When you're in faith, and many people are, they're in faith. And if they can be in faith like that and open to the possible, anything can happen.
Anything is possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're working with, the mind, the higher mind.
Yeah. And so for me, I don't channel. I've never channeled. But for me, it's fun to have it happen. I always love to see it and know it. I'm always very careful about it when somebody's doing it. I'm very careful. I ask some questions and just making sure that person's in a safe environment, all those things. But it's just a very good thing for us, and it opens my mind up and it opens everybody's mind in class up. So I'm never going to turn it down when it happens in class. I'm quite happy when it does.
Yeah, and we know when it's about discerning when you are channeling who whether the voice coming through is from a higher source, and when you are connected with yourself, by how you feel, you can discern.
So Justine, before we've only got a minute or so left, is I want you to say, even though like Hypnosis Everywhere has all your information and it's all on the page, but if it's playing on Spotify or something else, it won't be there. So at least give us your website and info and your contact information.
Okay, so for Hypnosis New Zealand, it's www.hypnosisnewzealand.co.nz.
Slow that down, please.
Slow it down. www.hypnosisnewzealand.co.nz. So it's quite an easy one. If you for my email, it's very similar, info@hypnosisnewzealand.co.nz. Fortunately, it's very easy to remember.
And if they don't remember, they can get a hold of me and I'll make sure they get in contact.
And if you look up hypnosis in New Zealand on
Yeah,
Google, come up
you'll
with
find it. Yeah, you'll be there.
and I'm quite happy for people to friend me on Facebook. My Facebook is full of hypnotherapists, and for people to message me privately on Facebook. That's pretty much where I do most of my messaging now.
Most of your contacting. Well, this is the last 30 minutes, and I really appreciated you coming all the way from New Zealand to talk to me.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking again sometime soon. And I just want to say goodbye to everybody, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.